In the middle of the battle between Yuji Itadori and Chozo, loud screams can be heard, which distracts both characters. Chozo thinks to himself in confusion because this isn't a part of Kenjaku's plan. Itadori decides to go check out the commotion, and Sukuna intrudes in and says the following to Yuji: "Brat, whatever is there is not human, nor a curse. Don't feel sorry for them." Right after this, Itadori freezes in shock as he is caught off guard by a zombie just towering over him. The zombie launches Itadori into a wall, and as that happens, dialogue from an unknown source appears. "You are something more than a special category curse. You are imperfect aberrations. Dismantle. I remind you of your position, strange thing. I'm above you all. Let the massacre begin." Sukuna then tells Yuji, "This is going to become a fair of agony, brat. I'm going to have fun watching you suffer." Just in the nick of time, Sukuna takes over and kills the zombie creeping up on him. The floor starts shaking, and then it eventually collapses, with Sukuna simply jumping over it. The zombie launches itself from the ground and charges at Sukuna. As he dodges, Sukuna says these words: "Itadori, I want to see your stupid face from seeing so many people disfigured." Somehow, the zombie takes a bite of Sukuna, surprising him and leading him to chop off his arm. Sukuna's arm starts to regenerate, and as that happens, we get a monologue from him. "It took me a while to regenerate. I have a bad feeling about everything that's happening. For a moment, it felt like my blood was boiling in my arm. I doubt it can infect me, but I'm not going to risk it too much. This isn't just curses fighting spellcasters anymore. Now try to overlook this judgment without presentations." Ino? Itadori takes over and sees that the zombie Sukuna just killed was none other than his friend, Ino. "Are they already human?" Itadori says to himself. We switch to Nobara, who started hearing the screaming as well, and she gets caught off guard by what appears to be a zombified Kokichi, though I could be wrong on that. The zombie chases after Nobara, but she's luckily saved in time by Nanami. Nanami urges for her to run away as far as possible, as there is something going on with the sorcerers. His speech is interrupted by something he heard from the lower level. He urges for her to run away as he deals with a new anomaly. 10 PM comes and we skip to Nobara asking Nanami about what's happening. "Nobara, I don't know what's happening. Out of nowhere, some people and curses started attacking each other. Some sorcerers ended up dead, and others are killing each other. I suppose this is an unknown virus or something like that. That's why I'll tell you for the last time, get out of there." Meanwhile, with the strongest sorcerer, we switch to the perspective of Gojo. "I have to stop this. There are people attacking each other, and special grade curses as well. I have no option but to use my domain expansion. I'm sorry, I won't be able to save them all." He feels he has no other options left than to use his domain expansion. He speaks to himself after killing a bunch of zombies. Some humans are disfigured, and by killing them, I can save the others. We switch back to Nobara and Nanami, where Nobara gets launched and her hand snaps off. All this is happening as Nanami is transforming into a zombie. My blood burns. I'm too hungry. Yuji comes across Nanami all zombified. He looks at his comrade in disgust, but Sukuna is trying to make sure that Itadori gets away for the sake of both of their safety. His eyes get shadowed as he says to himself, "I'm sorry, Nanami. I'm sorry for being late." Tears flow down Yuji's eyes and he decides to end Nanami's life. We're back to Gojo, struggling against the zombies. In his words, they are faster and have lost their patience. He kills some zombies before he decides to go outside in search of his students. Now we switch to Kenjaku, with text appearing all around him. What is happening? Dagon is nowhere. The curses are attacking each other. I have a bad feeling about this. Kenjaku starts to worry about two characters in particular, Megumi because of his 10 Shadows technique, and Mahoraga. These two are potentially the most dangerous to become zombified. He sends Mahito and Jogo to look for Yuji, and for Gojo to bring the saved fingers. The duo starts heading towards Sukuna. In the meantime, Chozo asks Kenjaku if they should help out, only for Kenjaku to say that they are strong. We see that Jogo gets dismembered as he fights a horde of zombies. He starts to beg for Mahito to unleash his domain expansion, which he does and kills a bunch of zombies. The clock reaches midnight and it starts to rain down on the two characters. "You're not interested in your life, right? I'm just having fun. Ah, how boring are you? Whatever, let's go, before more come." We see Kusakabe and Inumaki in a dark area, when all of a sudden, a cursed spirit appears. Next we see multiple shots all focused in on Mahoraga. We then see Toji and Megumi, with a flashback of Megumi being bitten by Ino. No time to think, Mahoraga. A segment plays out of Mahoraga being summoned by Megumi. While that happens, the virus slowly starts to take over Megumi. A screen of text appears. Something was wrong. We then see a huge battle go on between Mahoraga and Megumi, where Megumi bites Mahoraga. More text appear. What the hell was I thinking? Toji jumps into the battle but just gets sent flying. I have no chance, the next screen of text says. Mahoraga bites down on Toji's head, leaving him a deformed mess. We get another view of the result. but when we see Megumi, he thanks Mahoraga for saving him. The narration says the following. After breaking that person's skull, Mahoraga feels a presence too strong behind him. The changer gets too heavy like this, listening to someone's voice, rumbling the street full of infected. We then get an entire panel dedicated to Gojo's appearance. He has a stare down with Mahoraga while the narration says this. Gojo's gaze shows only contempt, sadness, and anger. Gojo only has one goal in mind: revenge. He launches Mahoraga towards some buildings, and then more infected appear. In the middle of the commotion, Mahoraga charges at Gojo, surprising Gojo since he assumed he was dead. Wait a minute, did the wheel spin? Wow, you're too tough. Let's end this now. Out of nowhere, a mother appears holding a baby, asking Gojo to save her son. Just from behind, a zombie piercing bull shows up. What the fuck? Gojo says as he looks in despair. Now Gojo holds the baby and decides to retreat. It is here we learn that Mahoraga has adapted to the virus. Both the bull and Mahoraga charge at each other, to which Gojo dodges. Unfortunately, the mother gets crushed in the battle, and Gojo simply watches in shock. I can't save them all, he says. I'm sorry, little one, I couldn't save your mother. We see a silhouette of Megumi, and in the next panel, we see a zombified form. This of course shocks Gojo. Without much time to process the outcome, Mahoraga attacks Gojo from behind. Gojo stares him down and punches Mahoraga. Yuta appears and tells Megumi that he has to unfortunately kill him, but Megumi just teleports away. Gojo gives the baby to Yuta and tells him to get away so that Gojo can deal with the current threats. He then asks how strong Rika is, to which Yuta asks if the baby is his. With an embarrassed reaction, Gojo explains that he just rescued him. Gojo then decides to use his domain expansion, Unlimited Void, to fight Mahoraga. Game over. I will finish you with one attack. Red and blue, everyone is within Satoru's domain, but someone is looking out. Nue flies down among the dark skies. We get a closer look at Nue's face, which just looks so horrifying. Mahoraga then attacks Gojo. Gojo's eyes give off a shocked expression, with him in disbelief saying the word shit. Panels of Gojo all bloody appear as Ui sneaks up onto Gojo, biting him. Gojo has now become infected. The narration in the next page explains what happens. Satoru Gojo uses the RCT at full power, but the virus was already in his brain, causing a severe stroke. After that, his technique began to weaken. Gojo's brain, affected by the virus, can't fully regenerate. In his weakened state, he thinks about his students. Yuji and Yuta pop into the scene to look for Gojo. Yuta takes on the Shikigami, while Itadori focuses on Gojo. Sukuna whispers to Yuji that Gojo is infected, but in the following panel, Gojo tells Yuji to not worry about him and that it's dangerous there. He then insists Yuji to save the surrounding people. All of a sudden, Gojo yells for Yuji to run away as he gets attacked by a zombified Ui. The following page talks about how Mahoraga has adapted to infinity, with him creeping up on Itadori. Mahoraga then knocks Yuji into the air. We get a perspective on Chozo, realizing that something is wrong, and he starts to realize that he has a brother. We're back to Gojo, where he slams Ui into the ground. After that, he starts to become aware of his surroundings, where he sees Mei under the rubble. Mahoraga jumps onto Yuji, who's already beaten and bloodied up. While that's happening, Jogo jumps into the scene and looks for Mahito. Some damage is dealt to Mahoraga as Chozo jumps into the scene. Chozo begins to speak to himself. Itadori was my brother? Was he always my brother? That wretch made me fight my little brother. Geto, you're going to pay for it with your death, you damn son of a bitch. Jogo, Mahito, I must protect my brother from them, but first I'll have to get out of here. It won't be an easy task. He's smiling as if he's going to win. We cut back to Yuta fighting the Shikigami. He struggles, so he decides to call in Rika. You can see Yuta and Rika falling down. Right when it's happening, Yuta monologues. He's escaping. It doesn't matter. You condemned yourself, but I'm not going to deny it. That attack was as if you got hit by 20 beams at the same time. If I had not called Rika, I would have been dead, but you couldn't withstand your own attack. The amount of power couldn't withstand your body. Yuta begins to notice Gojo, who's holding onto Mei and slowly becoming a zombie. Gojo begins to tell Yuta this. Yuta, is that you? Well, maybe you already know what's happening to me. Look, Yuta, I know it's hard to accept, but you can't do anything. That's why I'm going to sacrifice myself to throw 300% purple without restrictions, thus taking me half a wave. I ask you to bring Mei to Shoko so that she can hear her. Don't follow me. I'm now a danger to you. Please, get out of here. Yuta yells back in response. Professor Gojo, I'm not stupid to believe that you're not concerned about your situation. Do you really think you can beat thousands of infected curses in that state? You always say it's okay. You're a human too. You don't always have to say that everything's okay when it's actually wrong. I care about you. You are someone important to me. I don't care if you are the strongest. You are still a human with feelings. Gojo gives his response. I am the strongest. My duty is to save you and protect the weak, but it's too late to worry about me. Everyone saw me as a weapon. They never cared about how I felt. The only one who understood me is no longer here. I am dead to you now. Goodbye, Yuta. Forgive me. I failed you all. I'm going to fix this by sacrificing my life. I'm sorry. We cut back to Chozo fighting Maharaga, using his blood as a shield, though Maharaga lands a hit on him that sends him flying and makes Chozo lose his arms. Chozo reflects that he would have been killed if he hadn't made his shield. Maharaga jumps towards Chozo and Chozo calls up Itadori. Right when Maharaga is about to land a killing blow, Gojo jumps in. The panels become blue as Gojo starts to use his ability. It's becoming more and more difficult to become mentally well. Little by little, I'm losing control of my body. I need to hurry up. Infinity no longer has the same power as before. Wait a moment, is Maharaga adapting? No, Infinity is weakening very fast. A look of worry shows up on Gojo's face. His consciousness starts to talk to him. You have a lot of work you must finish. They trust you. You have to save them. Get a look of him all scarred up before his consciousness talks to him more. You can still rise, Satoru. Your time has not come. Do it for the fallen, for your students, for me. Satoru Gojo, get up. Wake up, Satoru. We first see Gojo's battered body. Then his eye begins to glow. Gojo's body, in an attempt to live, being in a practically critical condition. Gojo Satoru's production of cursed energy, as well as adrenaline, reached an even higher point than it should, now entering a state of absolute ecstasy, even greater than the one he had that time when he faced Toji Fushiguro. A short segment dedicated to Gojo's hollow purple starts to play out. 190%, 300%. I am the strongest today. Purple. The screen starts to flash white and we see multiple different perspectives. Is it serious? We then get another view of Gojo, seemingly woken up in a void. Satoru Gojo slowly rises. Now he has another perspective of the world. He has already lost his humanity. There is no one to stop him. Death reincarnated in the strongest. Judgment has already begun. Jogo takes a look around to see the unconscious bodies of Yuta and Yuji. He decides he needs to buy more time for them to wake up, because if those two die, then there's no one else left to stop Gojo. We see a streak of blue, then we get more up close with Gojo attacking Jogo. Jogo is now at the brink of death because of the attack, and Gojo in his zombified state stares down at Jogo before attacking him once again. Luckily, Jogo can dodge. 300%, I am the strongest of today. Gojo believed he had completely sacrificed the inverse inversal. However, what no one anticipated is that at the last second, the virus will act in a way never seen before, having found a very unique carrier. In order to favor even more efficient control, it would retain fragments of the carrier's consciousness, but use and influence them in its favor. The virus was already developing beforehand. This is why it was possible to use the reverse ritual when it was believed that it would permanently disable it, distorting Gojo's perception to make him believe that he had agreed to, when in reality he had altered the specifications and conditions of the contract. Given the risk of constantly being infected, a greater benefit was guaranteed. What he gave instead was disabling the ability of the reverse ritual to simply cure himself. Both characters unleashed their abilities on each other, but we get a look of terror in Jogo's face before we see him launched back. Gojo Satoru can still use his abilities. This time, Sukuna wakes up and notices some fingers on the ground. Of course, he decides to consume them, giving him 15 fingers. Sukuna then starts to notice Gojo fighting with Jogo. Jogo pierces Jogo like he was paper, splitting him in half. Without letting him breathe, Gojo throws himself again on Jogo's side. Jogo begs for his life before being slammed onto the ground. He starts coughing up blood, hoping that he had enough time. He apologized to Hanami and Dagon, but then Gojo starts to tear him apart. Gojo mercilessly dismembers Gojo without any bit of mercy, arms by arms, ripping his eye out, leaving him unrecognizable. Sukuna decides to approach Gojo. They stare at each other. Sukuna then makes the decision to go kill Gojo. I have to kill you, or at least hurt you a little. This is going from bad to worse. What's next? A curse capable of destroying Japan? It doesn't matter. I'll kill you anyway. Dismantle. Sukuna unleashes an attack onto Gojo, but Gojo just fights back, dismantling Sukuna's arms and his eye from his body. We can see Gojo's face, but the only thing recognizable about him are his eyes and hair. The word pathetic appears, and then Sukuna launches a sneak attack onto Gojo, where he then says, die. Gojo simply fights back, and Sukuna can't catch up. All in all, Gojo was simply too powerful for him. Yuta begins to wake up and tear up at the sight of his infected teacher. He still has hope that Gojo can be transformed back, though Gojo grabs Yuta by the mouth. Luckily, he is saved by Sukuna calling out Gojo's name, initiating what he calls the real fight. Something is wrong. Is he just playing? Right as Yuji gets hit in the face, Gojo directs his attention towards Yuta. There, Yuta starts to fight back. Yuta thinks whether or not he should dodge his attack. which just leads him to be thrown at Sukuna. Luckily, Rika grabs Gojo from behind. It's here Sukuna starts to think about how naive Yuta is being. Sukuna says this to Yuta: "If you keep acting like that, it's going to kill you. Do you still think you'll get it back?" Gojo approaches Yuta from behind. Afterwards, he uses 2 black flashes, both on Yuta and Yuji. Narration appears, saying the following: Gojo Satoru is slowly getting out of control. After the 2 black flashes, Gojo Satoru has increased his curse energy. Yuta is recovering from Gojo's black flash. Sukuna is struggling to stay conscious. The others are already on their way. We then see Kenjaku and he says this: "Gojo Satoru won't be a hindrance for the moment. I just need to find Mahito and absorb him for my plan to be complete." We then get even more narration. The virus is spreading more and more, contaminating cities and rivers as well as the sea. Fear is increasing. Not even the world powers can do anything against the virus. A being is reported to be releasing a red liquid that spreads throughout the sea at a slow speed. The moon is seen with the naked eye. Sukuna, with his face damaged after Gojo's black flash. He can't move any limb. His brain is recovering. The virus manipulates Gojo to get his full potential. They arrived at the location where the purple exploded and left a huge hole in the ground. Gojo throws Sukuna to Yuta and then throws red. Thanks to adrenaline, Yuta was able to match Gojo's speed for a few seconds. Yuta, in an attempt to save his teacher, tries to cure him with the reverse ritual. Yuta falls to the ground, almost dead, but when he wanted to heal his teacher, Gojo screamed in pain. He did a little damage to the virus, but he can't eliminate it. At an inconvenient time for Sukuna, Yuji starts to take over. He wakes up to see his teacher once again. We see Gojo unleash yet another attack before we enter Yuji's mind, with him calling out to Sukuna. He starts to beg for Sukuna to cure Gojo, as Yuji has already lost a lot at this point. Sukuna says this in response: "Ha ha ha, damn unfortunate. Do you think I'll do it? I'm really enjoying how they die and how Satoru Gojo dies, but what bothers me too much is teaming up with the insignificant sorcerers. If only I had my original body, I would have killed all of you fucking inferiors." Urame appears and gives Sukuna the other fingers. Sukuna now has 17 fingers, leaving him with 3 left to get his final form. He starts to ask Urame where Yuta is. Urame informs Sukuna about Yuta and the abilities he possesses. Sukuna then tells Urame to evacuate since Gojo is already here. They both start to lunge at each other. Right when Sukuna gets close, he uses his black flash ability, which sends Gojo off. Gojo fights back by using his blue curse technique. They start to charge at each other again. This time, they both use their domain expansion at the same time. Everything turns black until we see Sukuna's face again, looking all confused as to why everything was different. As the narration puts it, Gojo and Sukuna's dominance have collided, but Sukuna's dominance was superior to Gojo's. Satoru Gojo's domain was destroyed, but first, Gojo throws a red at the domain of Sukuna, thus destroying Sukuna's domain. Gojo's face completely rips off, and Sukuna uses his domain expansion, only for Gojo to choke Sukuna and use his domain expansion, Immeasurable Void. A timer starts. Sukuna no longer has a chance in Satoru Gojo's domain. Sukuna now looks in fear as Gojo walks towards him, and the timer starts to count down. And after 1,000 years, the King of Curses feels nostalgic, but along with this, immediately comes a feeling that he had long ago and left behind, being someone else's prey. Once Gojo gets closer, he bites Sukuna and rips a piece out of him. Unhappy, "I'll get out of here somehow. I'll make you suffer, Satoru Gojo. I'll make you suffer until the last scream you give." Now we focus to Mahito's perspective, with text detailing what's happening. After Mahito separated from the group and Jogo, he would try to survive the hordes. At first it was easy, but as he ran out of modified humans and used a second domain expansion, he ran out of options. At one point, Mahito tried to transmute the infected because he wanted to see if he could cure them, but when he tried anything other than destroying them, he simply couldn't. The path he saw when trying to transmute their souls was darkness. Mahito struggles to fight off the infected, as he has no more energy left in him. An explosion happens, and then Mahito starts to cry out for the names of Jogo, Dagon, Chozo, and Geto, as he gets trapped in a cursed spirit. He starts to cry to himself, "Geto, help me. Geto? I knew it. For a reason, I come from you." Geto finally appears and mutilates Mahito. After that, he has a speech. Perfect. Right now, I would have my plan completely, although I must admit that Satoru Gojo is still a problem. I think I'll use what I originally had saved. I just have to find him. We get even more narration. The damage and consequences are obvious. Order was completely lost, or at least what is believed. 1 hour and 12 minutes have passed since the strongest was infected. The fight between Satoru Gojo and Yomen Sukuna is currently developing. We see Todo and Sukuna watch in horror with everything going on after they've prevented a mass amount of zombies from escaping. It then cuts back to Sukuna and Gojo. Sukuna was about to complete 10 seconds inside the infinite void when domain expansion, mutual and true love, a hole formed in Satoru Gojo's barrier. We get a closer look at both of their faces in the next panel, where then Sukuna starts to speak. What's up with that face? Let's turn up the damn rhythm. Satoru Gojo. Rika's text bubbles appear, calling out for Yuta. Their battle intensifies and Sukuna gives these words to Gojo. Don't you understand? I'll tell you again. She still remains at her maximum skill. The imminent danger of having Satoru Gojo in a one-on-one causes Rika to begin her awakening. Manifesting 100% of Rika brings several benefits. The main one being an external tank of cursed energy. Now Yuta, and it's a brief moment that Yuta Okatsu requires to recover his cursed energy reserves. Thank you, Rika. Thank you for giving me everything. Shit, this is too burdening. If it were not for Rika, my domination would have definitely gone. Satoru Gojo has not been able to overcome Yuta Okatsu's domain due to the hole present and the interference of the real one to prevent closing it. The ephemeral use of infinity is more than just that, the virus, showing signs of a mutation. Gojo punches Yuta and the narration continues again. 29 seconds. The timer has started for the infinite void beat mutual and true love in this domain clash. Ignoring physical wear and tear as well as pain, they have made this Satoru Gojo overcome any kind of past experience from the King of Curses. Even kings are capable of falling. Despite the circumstances, both Sukuna and Yuta still continue to persevere, yet the timer still goes down. Yuta then screams for Rika to leave as Gojo uses his blue ability to attack Yuta. Rika attacks Gojo and then Yuta takes the opportunity to strike at Gojo, which just causes Gojo to throw Yuta. Timer goes down second after second, and the two begin to worry about the fact they're running out of time. They both make the decision to reach Gojo's infinity, yet the timer still reaches 0. Right after they're close, we get one final panel, domain expansion. Our story is then left at a cliffhanger. Continuing on where we left off, we're on the outside of the domain, where we see Kenjaku say domain expansion, and then we get some narration. The climax begins. The external contours of a barrier are weak on the outside. We see Kenjaku and he says this: "It's wonderful. I never thought of using such basic logic again." Kenjaku collapses the void, leading to the 3 sorcerers to be suspended in the air. We continue with the narration. The logic of a domain without barriers lies in the fact that its guaranteed hit extends beyond the opponent's own barrier, and if we add that the sorcerer of the barrierless domain is attacking from the outside, the result is more than obvious. We focus on Kenjaku when he says, "I doubt you can see me right now." Sukuna regains consciousness and we follow his monologue. If my assumption is correct, he can't right now. He can't recognize Suguru Geto's body in its current state to unleash 4 infinite voids tonight without rest. If you weren't that, currently you and your brain would be dead. Just for a second you really had it measured. It switches to the narration. Through an advanced configuration, Suguru Geto's domain sure hit attack takes effect only on Satoru Gojo, where in a fraction of a second the domain's effect began. In an instant, Satoru Gojo begins to plummet downward at the same time. Yuta Okatsu and Roma and Sukuna begin to fall due to the inertia and their current state from the domain battle. The infected condition had managed to give him the ability to endure and ignore fatigue in an inhuman way. In this way, he was able to use his ritual even after the fall of a domain. But after expanding his domain 4 times, the frontal cortex of Satoru Gojo's brain is in an extreme state of damage. At this very moment, that damage makes it impossible to expand what would be a 5th infinite void. Added to a possible decline in the performance of the ritual itself, the virus would start to seek solutions. Using Satoru Gojo's memories and knowledge, the virus would manage to find the best solution, which would be determined as eliminate the problem at its root. Geto is shocked, as he says, "No, did I miscalculate? I managed to predict his inability to expand his domain again." But seriously, his ritual is still performing at maximum efficiency. At the moment his fall began, 2 events started to occur simultaneously, where the technique of the 3 great clans Fallen Paddle's motion would activate alongside a maximum output blue. In combination, the result is obvious. In the next instant, a process of destruction and reconstruction will begin in the right frontal cortex, not only avoiding the future decline of the cursed ritual's performance, but also expanding a domain again will become a reality. Geto starts to think to himself, did he manage to rise, even with my sure hit attack active? Satoru Gojo, will he not notice Suguru Geto's body? He shows no sign of resisting. Is the virus betting everything right now to ensure the fall of the domain? Just for these brief instants, a text box appears saying, "The virus completely suppressed Satoru Gojo. In just a matter of seconds, the womb profusion has fallen, but he still hasn't." Out of nowhere, Sukuna throws a punch at Gojo. The narration continues. Once the domain falls, the virus begins action destroying and reconstructing the affected area, leaving the ritual in a fresh state. With a normal reverse technique process, it would be a matter of seconds, but the virus only having its natural healing for the next 570 seconds, Satoru Gojo will not possess his curse technique. Sukuna taunts Gojo, asking him what's wrong with his curse technique. Hello, editor's note. A lot of my narration isn't going to be exactly in line with what's going to be shown on screen. I translated the Spanish TikTok post into English before I was sent the English versions of the panel, so a few lines will be altered, but there's no drastic changes. We won't get a Netflix anime subtitle situation. Alright, back to the story. Yuta begins to wake up and see the battle between Sukuna and Gojo. He starts to hear that Gojo doesn't have his curse technique. Realizing how everyone had used up their domain expansions and that he can't rely on Rika either, he has one wild card. He signals a switch with Yuki. Tsukumo is seen fighting a couple of zombies. The zombies appeared when both blue and red techniques were used, meaning that these zombies operate under a hive mind. We can also see that Todo is there as well. They both start to realize that Yuta is calling for their help. Yuki starts to speak to herself. I have no idea what's happening to you. Okatsu, Sukuna, and someone else managed to expand their domains, but they didn't achieve it this way. Okatsu wants to trade himself now. Is it because of the loss of his domain? The few things I could analyze is Gojo's ability to expand domains without... Wait, these things didn't start appearing when Gojo's dominance falls under a minute later, and if we add that these things appeared 1 minute after the fall of Infinite Void, Okatsu wants to exchange right now. The virus wants to protect Gojo. This means that this is our best opportunity. This explains the disappearance of the entire horde. Could it be that Gojo has his cursed ritual worn out? We can see that zombie Megumi has survived. Since Maharaga was never fully tamed, he has another chance to summon him. A text box appears, saying the contingency plan begins. Yuki has a 1,000-yard stare as none other than Maharaga appears in front of her. We're back to the battle with Gojo against Sukuna and Yuta. Yuta begins to say to himself, shit, what's happening? Why won't exchange everything with me? This presence, I had felt it before. Megumi. The next panel has Gojo slam Sukuna into the ground. Following that, we see Gojo aura farming, with text next to him saying, it's absurd. We get even more of Yuta's monologue. Crap, this thing doesn't even have a damn curse technique. How strong are you, Gojo-sensei? Rika appears for a moment to protect him, and this starts a countdown of 57 seconds until something happens. Gojo sends Yuta crashing through multiple buildings. On the 34th, they hit 1, and at second 28, Gojo comes out of the rubble and grabs Yuta by the leg, and at second 26, he slams him again, sending him flying out of the same building. As Yuta flies through the air at seconds 23, 22, and 21, he plans to escape to a double highway with a gap in the middle to hide from Zombie Gojo, and just when he's about to cross, supposedly with 20 seconds left, Zombie Gojo gets ahead of every possible calculation. He strikes early with a full force black flash on Yuta, and after that black flash, Sukuna arrives, ready for the one-on-one. Then a text box appears. In more than 1,000 years, the king has never felt so many sensations before. Shame, danger, or fear, that's what a human would feel, but he feels the purest emotion. Fun. No weapons, no techniques. The third round begins. Our story is now at a pause. We continue where we left off at Chapter 29, Massacre of Kings. Zombie Gojo and 17-Finger Sukuna begin the third round of their battle at 2:22 AM. Sukuna leans back, thinking about how he hasn't regained his ritual technique. Yet the two jump to start the fight. The two weren't lunging at each other. No, Gojo is actually chasing Sukuna. Sukuna says this to himself, my body trembles like never before. I'm close, very close. He then says this to Gojo, brat, do you even know what a black flash is? Do you have any idea how impossible it is to do what you did? The text box is shown. Satoru Gojo's body has recorded a total of 4 black flashes throughout his fight in Shibuya. Sukuna calls Gojo a fraud, and then hits him with a black flash. We get a close-up of the two sorcerers before switching perspectives. Now we see Yuki and Todo, who are battling Maharaga. The two are clearly struggling. Out of nowhere, Yuki notices something off before he jumps back to Gojo and Sukuna. Sukuna is seen sliding across the ground while he has an internal monologue. Now that I can read several of his moves, I've started to get a handle on him. The virus can't use Satoru Gojo's genius status. With me, it shouldn't be the exception. If I had even a minimal amount of information, I would have already finished this battle with my first domain expansion. The next 2 pages have Sukuna drive his fist into the concrete and throw debris directly towards Gojo's face, who just blocks it. Sukuna then takes the opportunity to go land a kick onto Gojo's neck, as Gojo was already off guard from the previous attack. The ground underneath them starts falling apart. Sukuna is on the high ground, and Gojo is just below him. Sukuna taunts Gojo, and we can see him say, I'll put you in your place, sovereign bastard. The two jump through the debris to get to each other. Another text box appears. In high-level battles, details and movements take top priority. A single lapse in your actions can decide entire moments of the fight, and it's something he doesn't plan to waste. The Black Sparks have chosen him again. His third Black Flash makes his presence known in Shibuya. Gojo is now sent flying, and Sukuna positions himself on his chest. It's brought up how RCT not only damages the curses, but it also damages those affected by the virus. Sukuna recalls Yuji using RCT on Gojo and how it hurt him, so Sukuna decides to try the same thing. They both crash into a building, and then they are seen on a security camera. While Gojo is writhing in pain, Sukuna berates him. Your nature is astonishing. Not even the sorcerers or curses from 1,000 years ago would have tried it, let alone at such a young age. You are a form of life destined to be superior, a young sovereign in the making. So young that you don't even know who you are. You were just lucky to infect someone decent. But there's something you need to be very clear about. You also had the bad luck of crossing paths with me in this era. There's a little note in the corner of the page. As the saying goes, the devil knows more about being old than from being the devil. The king imposes himself on the emerging sovereign. Now we are led to chapter 30, disasters to come. Sukuna is still talking down at Gojo, but he is also analyzing the fact that the right side of Gojo's face is starting to recover. He delivers his last words to Gojo, while also thinking about how intriguing of a specimen Gojo is. Later, he references Yuta. In the next panel, Sukuna jumps out of the building, and Gojo chases after him. Gojo then grabs him by the hood. He throws Sukuna directly at a building, but before impact, Sukuna manages to get out of the way. Gojo crashes into the same building, and we begin to take a look from inside. The room is filled with citizens, with one of them recognizing him from the subway. Sukuna analyzes the situation. It seems to have stopped. He prepared to attack me, but he is managing to reason with the situation. He only treats me like a simple hoodie dude. For a second, I thought he would crash into me, as he did with Okatsu. Using debris is useless in this situation. All the more if he doesn't have that amplifying technique blue. My verdict is obvious. The first one to recover his curse technique will be the winner. I could copy his method, but Sukuna's monologue is interrupted by Gojo landing behind him. We also learn that the virus is evolving to improve the resistance of its hosts. Sukuna strikes Gojo with a black flash. The text boxes inform us that a total of 4 black flashes have been hit, which is almost impossible. Towards the end of this page, we see more black sparks. The two launch their black flashes at each other at the same time, but they both miss. Sukuna reevaluates the whole situation while Gojo prepares to land another kick. He throws this kick at Sukuna, who manages to block it. We also get some more narration from the text boxes. When talking about a reincarnated sorcerer, among their abilities is the capacity to imitate their hosts. And if we add an unnatural use of memories, there are great possibilities of achieving the desired deception. The force of the kick causes the ground to break apart, and then the text boxes declare that there are 6 seconds left for Sukuna to recover his curse technique. The timer goes down as the two keep fighting. After it reaches 1, Sukuna recovers his ritual and releases a series of dismantling attacks. Gojo is now covered in cuts. While Sukuna lands on a billboard, domain expansion, Sukuna says. Big text appears saying Malevolent Shrine, and in the small caption it says, "The curtains of death opened for the second time in Shibuya." Our story is then left at a cliffhanger. Chapter 31 begins with a domain expansion. We get some text boxes. Sukuna's curse technique possesses at least 2 types of slashing attacks. One can travel through the air, considered its primary style, dismantle, and another that adapts to cursed energy and the target's durability through direct contact, cleave. Malevolent Shrine, unlike most domain expansions, does not need to close its borders in order to deploy its innate domain. This is equivalent to painting in the air without the need for a canvas to exist, a divine masterpiece in every sense of the word. It is thanks to this, Sukuna creates a restriction, whereby granting an escape route, the maximum radius increases until it reaches nearly 200 meters. Currently, the radius deployed within a range is close to 150 meters. Beings with cursed energy will cut by cleave at the same time. Beings without cursed energy will be cut by dismantle. Both dismantle and cleave will attack without ceasing until the Malevolent Shrine ends. Then we get a large panel that reads out, New Shadow Style, Simple Domain. Sukuna monologues while chibi-fied versions of him and Gojo are seen on screen. That guy still retains the anti-domain technique. Even so, I must secure the distance. I can't risk falling into that again. If I had expanded my domain near him, or even if I were to get close to break his simple domain, it's possible that he could trap me in some way. For some time now, I haven't ruled out the possibility that he has found a simple method to make his barriers more resistant from the outside, especially because of the experience he gained during the last 2 Infinite Voids. That's why I decided to expand my domain far from him. This way I prevent him from getting close to me, but even if he manages to do so, he will take enough damage to prevent him from maintaining a proper fight, and he won't be able to bring down my domain in a direct confrontation. My conclusion is straightforward. I will maintain my hand seal while I prepare myself. It's only a little more than a minute. If this thing does nothing, it will lose to Satoru Gojo. Last panel on this page zooms in on Sukuna's eyes, looking all shocked. Text boxes appear again. When 2 techniques are executed simultaneously, in the process one of the 2 will have reduced power. At the same time, he bets everything. Immediately afterward, the simple domain of Satoru Gojo would begin to collapse. Among the possibilities, one option comes true, and just as he realizes it, the slashes of his domain would cease. Only 44 seconds have passed since the activation of the Malevolent Shrine. A small segment plays out of Gojo releasing Hollow Purple before we get this really sick looking page of the 2 fighters. We switch to Sukuna's perspective, where he unleashes an attack. The text boxes narrate again. The execution of Open ended with an explosion of the 150-meter radius on the surface. In this way, ending the existence of Satoru Gojo, or at least that should have happened. Because the technique was executed in an incomplete manner, its power can be considered insufficient. This happens due to the short time of that the technique had, but at the same time the explosion occurred, the following happened. Released during the domain clash against Yuta, Gojo made a self-imposed vow, pausing his evolution for an indefinite time until he decides the moment to release that limitation. Among the benefits, an accumulation of accelerated healing factor is granted in the following seconds, managing to withstand Sukuna's fire technique while also managing to reverse all post damage after the 2nd round against Sukuna. Regarding the process that traps Satoru Gojo's soul thanks to his paused evolution, he acquired greater effectiveness than expected. Currently, Satoru Gojo's brain can at least release 3 Infinite Voids in succession and reconstruct the affected area at least 2 more times. Ryomen Sukuna, after the fall of his domain, right now finds himself without curse technique. Could it be that Satoru Gojo won? Chapter 32 is titled Empty Places. We have what seems to be a bit of a flashback, with a younger Geto and a younger Gojo. Geto asks how things went in Shibuya, to which Gojo asks if Geto is an illusion, though Gojo takes back the statement. Their dialogue continues, but honestly it was pretty tough. I barely managed to defeat Maharaga, but seeing the results, even if I hadn't done it, the virus would have eventually ended up doing it on its own. Well, it's quite a nuisance, don't you think? How disgusting. I never thought I'd end up like this. I think it's about time, Satoru. If I noticed it, it's because you did it first. You feel frustrated and tired, don't you? You feel that way because you weren't able to give more. You feel that your burden as the strongest has been reduced to nothing more than a simple weapon. But unlike before this time, it wasn't by choice, was it? I know what you did and I know you gave it your all, but even so, you're still unsatisfied. Gojo finally responds, "Since when did you become so talkative, Suguru? Just shut up and watch. The great Satoru Gojo will take care of the rest." Then we get some narration. Amid his condition as an infected, Gojo began a hallucination. His best friend Geto was conveying a message to him to give up and die. What was seen before was a conversation with himself to determine his final decision. As a clear sign, Satoru Gojo refuses to give up and chooses to keep fighting. "Wait, is that Nanami?" he says to himself. Then we go back to reality. Speech bubbles are seen saying Prison Realm, open. As you could expect, Zombie Gojo ended up getting sealed. It's said that seeing Geto could snap Gojo back into reality, but his body was still under control of the virus. Yuta jumps in and tries using cursed speech, but it just ended up damaging him even more. Gojo becomes fully sealed, and right when that happens, Geto describes how another issue comes up for him. When she arrived in Shibuya, I focused on following her steps as much as possible. I made things easier for them. I guess it was expected that she'd be here right now. Yuki pops up saying, "So are you finally going to tell me your type of woman, Geto?" A caption appears saying, "One last effort before a false peace. 2 special grade sorcerers clash." And here is where the story ends. And that has been the Shibuya arc of Jujutsu Kaisen Zombies. Now can you guys stop spamming my comment section? There will be a Culling Games arc and I'm looking forward to it. Whether or not I cover it, I'll have to see. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this series and my narration of it. My first video on this series is reaching 2 million views, and the following sequels have hundreds of thousands. I probably wouldn't have made it this far if it weren't for this series. So again, thanks to the creators, and you guys for watching this video. I know I said I was done with the infection stuff, but that Skylanders one is calling my name. I also found a couple horror AUs, MLP Grimdarks, and fanfictions that are catching my attention, meaning I guess I'm back in the AU business for now. Talking about IRL stuff was cool and all, but, you know, I have more stuff planned on this channel, and also on my second channel just titled Casey Valentine. That one's more personal and less horror related. I actually have a huge video planned for Easter, so stay tuned for that. Take care of yourselves, and of course as usual, please have yourselves a damn good one.